Good evening. The March 30th, 2020 meeting of the Lenore County Board of Education to order, and I will recognize Mr. Nick Harvey for our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. And now I'll recognize Superintendent Williams for the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor and privilege tonight to present to you for your consideration and hopefully your approval tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
It's a motion by Mr. Hill and a second by Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Our next item is board chair comments. I do have a couple, but I will be brief. I'll start out by saying I never imagined where we would be today in my lifetime. I'm soon to be 55 years old, and I remember just a few years ago a movie called Outbreak, starring Dustin Hoffman and Cuba Gooding Jr., I believe. And even this weekend, I was very surprised to see a movie on TV with the name Virus. I was very shocked on TV, but it was. Imagine being in something like this now. I also never imagined my two college-age children that are, we've been empty nesters for, I guess, a year and a half now. Now they're both home. They're both in school. They are online, doing quite well, but they're ready to be done with this year. We looked forward to 22 years of my son graduating in Keenan Stadium at Chapel Hill, and now that's gone, at least for the time being, just as our possible graduations at our local high schools may be delayed. I certainly hope not. I hope we can get that done, but I don't know. So we're kind of in a state of hold now. We have people working hard, but we just don't know what the future brings us. Hopefully it'll be all good. But I do have a few thank yous, and the first one will be two folks. Noose News, I'd like to thank them for their updates every day of our situation. And I say our situation, not just Lenore County Public Schools, but Lenore County, our state, and our country. They allow us to participate in a Facebook Live video, live streamed and recorded. I appreciate Superintendent Williams doing that. And I also would like to thank the Free Press. I know I've seen several articles about Lenore County Public Schools and what we're doing to confront this coronavirus and this crisis. I'd like to thank Mr. Holmes as well for getting those articles to them. Good articles with some great information. I believe they were very accurate in their printing. So I'd like to thank Noose News and the Free Press. Next, I'd like to thank the Lenore County Public Schools staff for being able and willing to adjust so quickly to crisis conditions. I'd also like to thank them for being able to feed our students and our communities on such a short notice. Also for contacting our students to let them know we care and how much we do love them. And also, I'd like to thank our leadership team, including Superintendent Williams, Mrs. Herring, Mr. Harvey, the directors, principals, and all administrators for their hard work and very long hours, keeping Lenore County Public Schools in the forefront when it comes to dealing with the corona crisis. I'm so proud to be a board member of Lenore County Public Schools. The end of this crisis may be weeks or may possibly be months away, but I have no doubt that Lenore County Public Schools will continue to shine through it all. Thank you. And now I'll move on to Superintendent Williams as announcements and recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have decided to save the recognitions normally scheduled for this time, and I'll simply move on to a statement and echo what
Okay.
Chairman has stated. I've always been proud, very proud to be superintendent of Lenore County Public Schools, but never more so than during this COVID-19 crisis, to witness firsthand and to be so actively involved in leading the process and so uplifted by what I've seen from our folks, our staff members, our students, our parents, the whole community, and coming together. The spirit of collaboration, the resilient spirit that we've seen has truly been rewarding beyond compare. This is an unprecedented situation affecting our community, our state, our country, and the international global community as well in unprecedented ways, certainly in our lifetime and beyond. And it's been a pleasure to not only to serve, but also to see others serving every day in large and small ways. Whatever somebody's role with this school system, they have stepped up, as we say, stepped up big, and they have shown what can happen. The announcment was made and on Friday, and then literally on Saturday, and literally by the end of the day Saturday, our team was here working. They were out in our schools working. On Sunday, they were working. We worked all day Sunday, and by Monday, our plan was in place. We had already started working on pieces of a plan in anticipation of it. That's the type of district we have. That's the type of strategic planning we have, and that's the type of people we have here. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of where we are with digital learning. But digital learning is not the whole piece. Devices, that won't get you there. Internet connectivity, that alone won't get you there. It's all about what you do with the devices. You could go sit in a classroom and that doesn't get you there. Everybody understands that. But we also need to understand it's what you do with the devices. That's what we've spent years and years working on. It's what our digital learning specialists and our administrators and our teachers do every day. I couldn't be more proud of them and the work they have. We have a comprehensive presentation for you tonight. I won't step on that or repeat anything we're going to say in there, but I'll just say overall, to you, the members of the Board of Education, you can be so proud, and I know you are, but you can be so proud of your team, your LCPS family. They have stepped up big. They do it every day, and they get it done in large and small ways to the betterment of our kids every single day, but never more so than during this crisis. So you can be very proud of what they've done. You can be proud from a nuts and bolts standpoint of the plan and the planning, the strategic processes involved, the carrying out the plan, the follow through of the plan, the impact on the community, the return on the investment of effort. It's all there. But larger than that, much larger than that, you can be proud of the human investment in cooperation, collaboration, and I'll say this, in pure love for each other, for a fellow person. And that has been shown in big ways and small ways and all through the spectrum. So it's been a very challenging few weeks for us. The first 2 weeks were, it seems like a month in length, but we feel great about it. By the end of the first day, we had all of our devices distributed. We had made contact with all of our parents. By the beginning of the second day, we were teaching school every day. We were providing learning opportunities for kids. We were having staff meetings in every school, and we were rolling, as they say. Couldn't be more proud to lead this system than during this. And I just wanted to make sure, I know you all know it, I've been keeping you informed, but I wanted to make sure that we say this on the record officially in this, our board meeting for the month, so that you know that your team is not only getting it done, but your team is demonstrating excellence in everything that they do, and they're leading in the region. And I appreciate their efforts, and I appreciate you and your support as a Board of Education. I have said to our parents and to our seniors, those are the ones that they're thinking about it even more so than everybody else, because it's the situation of immediacy for them, and they're thinking about college and what lies next and how that'll even look in the end of their senior year. But we do have 3 9 weeks of grades in elementary and middle school. And high school, we have 1 9 weeks of the 2 9 weeks semester. We do have guidance from the state now, from the State Board of Education. We do have a plan for our seniors. Our seniors are going to get there, and they're going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. We're going to get through this together with that spirit, that determination, that planning, and all of the aforementioned efforts that I discussed. We are going to do this, continue to do this in a very effective way for the betterment of the kids that we are so richly blessed to serve. I couldn't appreciate them more and you more. So thank you, Board of Education, for all you're doing and for your leadership in these endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Williams. We'll move on to we said we have no public comments. So we will move on to our presentation portion of our agenda. It'll be our Lenore County Public Schools COVID-19 response.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you all see, Jesse, have you shared the screen?
Doing it now, sir. 1 second.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If you'll advance to the second slide, Jesse. All right, so what I'll do is present, and Mr. Harvey and Ms. Herring and I will present for you an overview from beginning to end with the timeline of everything that's happened with regard to COVID-19 and the virus crisis and how it's impacted the public schools in North Carolina. And this is unique in that it has affected all of the public schools, and that we've had such quick action from the State Board of Education, from the governor's office, and in expression of support from the General Assembly, if not in voting yet, but they have pledged their support as well. So all interested parties have stepped up and have expressed immediate support for us in getting things up and running to work remotely and to support our kids to the greatest extent possible. So we'll begin with Executive Order 117. It was issued on March 14th, and we'll go through these quickly. March 14th, 2020, and it said all K-12 public schools will be closed until March 30th, 2020, through the end of the day on the 27th. And then more to come if necessary, and more was necessary. So advance, Jesse. All right, so guidance from the state was given at that time. March 16th through the 30th were designated by default to be optional teacher work days, and we've continued to follow this pattern. LEAs could reclassify the days to mandatory teacher work days for annual leave days as necessary. Employees were to remain in work status and were eligible to be paid. Let's advance, please. Thank you. LEAs should provide opportunities for remote work to the extent feasible and reassign employees to safe work environments with appropriate duties. School facilities are closed as instructional settings, those were pivotal words, but could be used for other purposes as designated by local boards of education. This is issued on March 23rd, 2020. It extended, this was Executive Order 120 from Governor Cooper's office, extended the closure period until May 15th, 2020. And that's our current period of closure. Governor Cooper directed the State Board of Education in collaboration with NCDPI to develop a plan to ensure access to quality education for students through the remainder of the school year. Overall goals of the plan: to provide students with remote learning opportunities while the buildings are closed, to ensure, and that looks different in different districts. Again, as I said in my opening comments in the Superintendent's Report section, Lenore County is really leading in our region and among the leading districts in the state from what we can determine about the depth and breadth of our capabilities with regard to digital learning, actually the capacity to teach while schools are closed. Ensuring that all school employees, including custodians, bus drivers, teachers, assistants, and cafeteria workers, will work in safe environments and that they will be paid. Flexible funding, Executive Order 120, flexible funding for public school response. And this just dropped last week, created $50 million in flexible funding allotment on March 24th, 2020. Funds can be used for the following: child nutrition services, remote learning to support what we're doing. So technology certainly is a part of that. Huge part of that. Emergency child care and cleaning and sanitizing. Executive Order 120 also provides flexible funding for other key allotment categories, including textbooks, digital resources and school technology, transportation, at-risk, DSSF, and low wealth funding. So additional categories provided there. The State Board of Ed also unanimously approved on March 23rd a one-year waiver from the U.S. Department of Education for federal student testing and accountability requirements. And this is actually from North Carolina. The Department of Ed, it was sorted backwards this time. The Department of Ed announced the week before that if any states applied under the current COVID-19 crisis, applied for a waiver from state mandated testing requirements, that those waivers almost certainly would be approved. So North Carolina then submitted through the State Board of Education, then directly from DPI, submitted that waiver request and application, and it was approved. So on the same day. So waivers for testing in North Carolina. This has been a big question that many people have had when they consider the spring in any school system in North Carolina. You're thinking about a big testing cycle. You have all of your grades 3 through 8 tested, and you have the second wave of high school, second semester of high school testing. So this was addressed through the federal application and also approved at the State Board of Education meeting on March 23rd. Jesse. Waivers were approved specifically in which categories? For end of grade and reading and math, grades 3 through 8, science tests in grades 5 through 8. Waivers were approved for end of course tests in high school in NC Math 1 and NC Math 3, end of course tests in biology and English 2. All North Carolina final exams are NCFEs as well. Now, I'll stress the word temporary because that was one thread running throughout this. These are temporary suspensions just for this testing cycle. Waivers were approved for temporary suspension of K-3 diagnostic assessment requirements for the 1920 school year. Accountability and school report card waivers as well. No A through F school performance grades for the 1920 school year will be calculated and assessed. It holds schools and districts harmless under the A through F accountability requirements and any designation of low performing schools that would otherwise subject the school to possible inclusion in the innovative school district, the ISD, that will be on hold at least for this year. Calendar flexibility. This has been a big topic. Some of you have called and I've talked with some of you individually about this. A lot of our teachers have been asking about this. Almost all of our school-based administrators have been asking about calendar flexibility. I know it's a hot topic, but specifically for the purpose of the COVID-19 crisis. The calendar has been aligned with the school closure order until May 18th because you know that provided a technical mismatch. So it's been aligned now for the calendar for North Carolina. It allows waivers for a minimum of 185 days or the 1,025 instructional hours mandated for 2019-2020 school year. Also, temporary suspension includes suspension of EVOS, our predictive data software for 1920 school year, and the EVOS projections for teachers and how they've done that. We use that and everything from teacher placement and really assessing how our teachers are doing and all types of decisions. It's also used to help calculate teacher bonuses and all that. waive any abbreviated and full observation requirements for any teacher in his or her contract renewal cycle. Provide waivers for student required beginning teacher observations. Grant licensure flexibility for teachers who are up for renewal this year and next year due to lack of ability to secure continuing credit. Waive in-service educational programs or EPPs training requirements for principals and teachers. And essentially, most of this is really cleaning up the situation of requirements and mandates that will occur while school is out or shortly thereafter. So it's really within that thematic package, all of this is taking place. Waive the 16-week requirement for certification. Waive the results of the EdTPA. Waive the Praxis 2 testing requirements and all of those initial requirements for teachers. LCPS response overall. We're going to talk, Ms. Herring, Mr. Harvey, and I are going to present to you in the following categories. Ms. Herring is going to talk about instruction. Mr. Harvey is going to talk about child nutrition and work days for staff. And then I'll come back in for general operations of the school system during school closure. So planning, work began immediately, as I said, as soon as we found out on Saturday with Governor Cooper's announcement of the closure of all schools in the North Carolina. Our team came here and started planning, but we didn't start from scratch. We started with the nucleus of a plan we already had and did an overlay to our strategic plan. And our folks were ready to go by the time the students came back on Monday and came in to pick up materials and all that. So proud of them hitting the ground running, and our teachers were in the building some Saturday, many, if not most, on Sunday, and then again on Monday, and they've been rolling ever since. Instruction, the plan, phase 1, I will decrease, and Ms. Herring, you can jump in here, but essentially we have 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we feel good about that. We're currently in phase 3. And Ms. Herring.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Great. Thank you so much. We have strategically moved in 3 different phases as we have planned, implemented, and supported students and staff for an extended closing in digital learning. Each phase built on itself, so the rollout of each one was fluid and connected. During each phase, we have given step-by-step instructions so as to eliminate as much confusion and anxiety as possible. Phase 1 initially involved organization and direction. It involved preparing materials to be sent home, to include the distribution of iPads and chargers, library books out of our libraries, paper packets and supplies for students. The organization and pickup was planned and fully implemented in less than 48 hours. Phase 1 has been about teachers familiarizing themselves with the learning management systems that we use in Lenore County if they've not already were regularly using them. This includes our Canvas platform, which is 6th through 12th grade, and Seesaw is what we use for kindergarten through 5th grade. Organizing resources to include scanning needed documents happened in phase 1, collecting links to videos and websites, and reading playlists created as needed. Phase 1 also included collaboratively planning with teaching partners and communicating that plan to students, families, and administrators for the platform directions, how to log in directions, and just general directions. Phase 2 introduced the workflow for teachers and exactly what each part of that workflow included. The workflow is a daily expectation, and it's broken down like this. From 8:30 to 9 o'clock every single day, Monday through Friday, teachers and staff are to use that time as daily preparation. Log into your email, log into Zoom, get situated in your workspace. 9 o'clock every day from 9 to 10, there is a daily virtual staff meeting. The entire school participates. This allows principals to take attendance, provide professional learning, and allows teachers to share out from team meetings that they've had the day before. Then from 10 to 12 o'clock are what we refer to as virtual office hours. Virtual office hours allow for teachers to provide immediate feedback to students, respond to emails, and create online learning opportunities for our students. We ask our teachers to provide students with feedback within 24 hours of submitting or uploading any work to them, and to respond to emails also within 24 hours. The work is not graded. Teachers have the option to choose in PowerSchool an option called collected. So they don't enter a grade, they mark that this particular assignment was collected. And that helps the students and parents keep up with what they have submitted and what they have yet to submit. From 1 to 2, that's a dedicated hour of team planning every day. It's planning by your grade span, by your content level, and district level. Team planning is dedicated time for teachers to plan together, learn different learning templates for students, and to create content for the learning management systems. The use of this dedicated time also allows them to post resources and questions and share best practices on listservs with their colleagues all over the county. When that hour is over, from 2 to 3:30, we go back to virtual office hours, and the expectation remains the same: to respond to students, to provide feedback, to plan, to respond to emails. Expectations during phase 2 have included employees being available during their normal work hours, and they're required to keep a log of all contacts with students. Every teacher is required to make contact with each student at least once per week to check in on their well-being, their progress, and to answer any questions they might have. Our staff is required to use their Google Calendar as the authoritative source to document their remote workflow. All events are created as blocks of time in the calendar and indicate the hours that they were worked from home. Employees are able to produce a list of completed or in progress tasks or action items on their daily calendar on Google. All hours of work must be accounted for in this calendar. Phase 3. This was the next layer of our remote learning plan. Phase 3 continues all that is in phase 1 and all that is in phase 2, but takes the learning opportunities to a much greater level and creates opportunities for teachers to create synchronous learning opportunities that occur at the same time. So the synchronous learning opportunities are going to be live Zoom meetings or live classes. Our teachers are not required to host live Zoom classes, but in the event they do, we have set out specific guidelines for them to follow.
And Ms. Herring, just to clarify for the board members, what she's talking about is our teachers who have just the format you're using tonight for this meeting. They will have all of their students live and visible and participating in the class. That's not across the board. That's not every day. It's not every teacher, but it is happening every day in every school with our kids. So amazing things are possible, just like this meeting 10 years ago would have been maybe something that we couldn't do, maybe 5 years ago. But certainly it's not only feasible now, but it's commonplace, but it's happening with our teachers and our kids every day. And our parents know it, and our parents are commenting on social media about it, saying very positive things and giving very positive feedback to us and the principals, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Phase 3 also has introduced asynchronous learning opportunities that are video recorded mini lessons that are accessible to students at any time. So that if a student is not able to log on at a particular time on a particular day, then the lesson has been videoed and recorded so that the student can access it at any time that is best for them or convenient for them. Phase 3 also allows for creation of additional offline opportunities for students and additional paper packets to be created and distributed to students. Employees must be aware at all times, of course, of their surroundings and professionalism at all times when participating in virtual team meetings and in all contact with students and parents. Phase 3 focuses on student creation of learned content as opposed to more traditional means of work product. Our employees have a more structured team planning time in Phase 3 that supports their extension of work and ability to consider different learning objectives. We do not want to overload our students with work either. So Phase 3 introduced a schedule for teachers to Zoom with students if they chose to. So what was proposed, it was actually created, it came out of North Lenore, and we were really impressed with it. And so we shared it out with the whole district. And this is what we've suggested. On Monday, you can only Zoom or have a face-to-face with your first period class. So if you're a student, you know on Monday, you could likely have a class with just your first period teacher. Tuesday, second period. Wednesday's third period, Thursday's fourth period, and Friday would be open for all students. And for elementary students that don't necessarily have 4 class periods, Monday might be science, Tuesday might be ELA, Wednesday might be math, and Thursday might be social studies. Overall, Phase 3 is the next level in remote learning for Lenore County Public Schools. And we are currently in the process of working on Phase 4. But that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Herring. Mr. Harvey, operations.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to also thank everyone in our operations department for the hard work that they have exhibited over the last 2 weeks. Without their hard work and their effort, we would not be in the position we're in today. As far as child nutrition, under the leadership of Ms. Danielle Smith, her outstanding team of managers and child nutrition assistants, grab-and-go meals began in Lenore County Public Schools on Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. To date, 26,846 meals have been served to our students. 26,846 since last Tuesday.
Mr. Harvey, is worth underscoring that we literally started on day 2 of the closure, that we didn't have to take a week to 2 weeks like some districts. I'm just saying, and put together a plan that we started on day 2 and we're continuing to do it. And some districts are ending their meals today. It'll be their final day. Other districts never started. And we're doing this for our kids as a service because we can and we believe we should.
Absolutely. What's included in the grab-and-go meal? A hot lunch and a shelvable breakfast item. That's the new word for non-perishable item. A shelvable breakfast item for the next morning. North Lenore High School, Frank Middle School, Southeast Elementary School, Kinston High School, and South Lenore High School have been designated as grab-and-go sites. Mobile distribution sites have been established throughout Lenore County in our most remote areas. Those areas are evolving. We have citizens call and ask about certain areas of our community. Ms. Smith and Mr. Mitchell, our outstanding transportation director, collaborate and see what the next step is to ensure that we are reaching as many families as we can. So that is evolving each day. And I thank them for their efforts. Do I have any questions regarding child nutrition? We'll move on to maintenance. Maintenance operations have continued over the last 10 days. 48 work orders have been completed, and that does not include the day-to-day operations of grass cutting and other school needs. Major projects at our schools have also continued throughout the district with the assistance of our contractors. For example, a roofing project at Rochelle Middle School continues, and a canopy project at Northwest Elementary School is going on as well. At the building level, our custodians have used this time to deep clean our facilities. They were directed to take advantage of this time without students to wipe down and cleanse parts of our buildings that might be overlooked during the normal school day. We are grateful for our building level custodians as well. Are there any questions regarding the maintenance department? We'll move to transportation. As you recall, by law, each bus in our fleet must be inspected by our mechanics to operate for our students every 30 days. Our transportation team has continued to work to ensure the safety of our fleet. Under the leadership of Mr. Anthony Mitchell, they have partnered with Child Nutrition Director Danielle Smith to assist with our distribution of meals to our students. The transportation department will continue its work during our closure. I'm going to entertain any questions regarding the transportation department at this time. Okay, finally, the technology department. Mr. White and his team have moved our district to new heights, as was stated by a board member earlier. During this unprecedented time in public education, the demand and consumption of technology has resulted in a fever pitch for the need for technology. Fortunately, with the foresight of our board, former superintendent Mr. Mozingo, Dr. Mozingo, and operations leader at the time, Brent Williams, LCPS is in a position to meet the demands of our needs. Our technology department has worked to respond to the needs of our students and staff members. Technicians have answered calls, work orders, all work orders and calls that arise to include equipment repair and the use of digital platforms when needed. All of our students' devices have been distributed at this time. We are grateful for the support of our board and school board and the county commissioners for their assistance with this endeavor. I'll entertain any questions you have regarding technology at this time.
Okay.
Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. And to bring it around to Jesse, advanced all staff members. Yes, thank you. To bring it around to closure, we'll say in closing, I hope this is giving you a good snapshot of what has happened and the phases through which we worked to deal with this crisis, because it's had multiple facets and some stop and start scenarios. And we've had the first closure and then the second closure, and we've had multiple sets of guidance or lack thereof on things. Carolyn and I were talking about that today, and we've been struggling. And I do want to thank Tharrington Smith and specifically Carolyn Murkison for her work in getting and processing. The order came just Friday, and by the end of last night, she had provided us with not only an analysis, but a set of recommendations about essential employees and about the law and what's contained therein, and recommendations for moving forward. So I certainly want to thank her. What you've seen, I hope, is a good snapshot of where we are. Our schools are in good shape, the best shape that they can be in for teaching and learning under the circumstances. I feel great about where Lenore County Public Schools is, and it's all because of the people in the school system family, in our schools, working with our kids. It's because of our outstanding young people, and it's because of our parents and our parents and grandparents and guardians and everybody who works to in the process of helping to bring up and nourish and help our students to grow and to thrive. So we appreciate the whole team, and it does take this whole village every day, but especially in times of crisis, it takes us all working together. And I hope you've seen a good representation of that tonight. Our teachers are working remotely, and teaching and learning is strong in Lenore County. We'll be fine through the extended closure. We have guidance now on our seniors, and we have pledged to our seniors that they will graduate in some way, in some form. We will have some type of graduation. We have the May 15th date. And beyond that, we're expecting and planning to start back. If we don't, then we'll plan for that as well. But we're all going to be fine. And I thank the board, I thank the community, I thank our students and our staff members. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Williams and Mrs. Herring and Mr. Harvey. That was a lot of information. It kind of puts us all on the same page each now. And I know a lot has occurred in the last couple of weeks. I didn't know I was going to see if any of our board members had any questions for you, for any of you.
I had one, I might have missed it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many buses did he say we have delivering meals?
So initially there were 5, Mr. Smith. That number is evolving. I'll check with Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Smith to see if that number increased today. As I said, there are citizens that are calling. Right now, we're not going to reach everyone's home, but if we can have strategic drop-off areas throughout the county. Mr. King called me Friday. There was a citizen in one of the northern sections of the community. I think it was in the Grifton area, and we were able to meet their needs. So it is evolving, but we will do everything we can to ensure that everybody has an opportunity for grab-and-go lunch and breakfast.
And in addition to, and just to underscore what Mr. Harvey said, in addition to the remote feeding sites, we didn't put on the flyer, but I did message it to you, the members of the board, and we'll say it publicly here. We have been going to areas in addition to the regular stated feeding sites, to areas of large concentration, to neighborhoods and housing developments with a lot of students living at a single stop or in close proximity to each other. And we've been taking meals to those sites as well. So, thousands of meals that we're serving per day. And I'm just so proud of that, proud of what our team is doing. And we have had some misunderstandings. Some people have called and they thought that there was going to be a package delivered to each door. That's really not an attainable goal for us or for any school system. And it was never promised. So I feel great about what we're doing. And if you look at it in the scope of what other districts are doing and what they plan to do, this is really an outstanding effort for our district. So I thank the child nutrition staff and everybody involved.
Yeah, and that question parcel was just to see how many bus drivers that we are able to still keep working. And just let me say this before we move on, and then I'll be finished. But I really appreciate all that Mr. Williams that you are doing, Mr. Harvey, Ms. Herring, everybody that's been putting this thing together from the beginning. I certainly appreciate everything that you all have done. You all have done a fantastic job. I should say an outstanding job of just getting everything together, and it's much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Anyone else? Any other board member? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our next item, Mr. Adams, with our financial report.
Mr. Adams, we can't hear you.
He's muted.
Mr. Adams, you need to unmute that.
My apologies.
He's going to say he said his best material. He made his best presentation while he was muted.
I nailed the first part. Now I'm winging it.
Oh, good.
The March
I heard you through the
2020
wall.
financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity for all Lenore County Board of Education funds as of March 30th, 2020. Additionally, the report presents the local current expense fund balance as of March 30th. The report is being shared on your screen. As you have a chance to review, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Adams.
All right, thank you.
We will now move on to the consent agenda portion of tonight's meeting.
Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Hill.
is this I don't have my agenda on. Is this the personnel?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, then I am going to have to recuse myself. I have immediate family on the personnel report.
I believe you have two, don't you?
I do. I have 2 this time.
I did see that. Thank you, sir. Mr. Hill has recused himself. And I will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report as written.
Move to approve the personnel report with the attached addendum.
We have a motion by Mr. Smith.
Second.
Is that Mr. Davis?
Yes.
We have a second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of approving the personnel report with the addendum, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we will move to the action item portion of the agenda, our 2019-2020 budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Budget amendment number 2 is being used to revise the working budget of the Lenore County Board of Education to reflect changes that have occurred throughout the fiscal year. If you would share the public content from board docs.
Okay, hold on.
The public content contains a summary of the changes in each PRC through the various funds that are being amended.
I think that's just, there it is.
That is it. Thank you. As you have a chance to review the summary, the details, and the budget amendment itself, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Adams or discussion? Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Anderson and I believe a second by Mr. Smith.
Mhm.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chair, could we actually have people raise their hands for the record? And that's all in favor?
In favor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
No opposed. That's correct.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before Mr. Eric Adams leaves, what's the schedule on the budget committee?
We haven't discussed a timeline yet. It is going to need to be in the next couple of weeks.
Mr. Anderson, we'll announce that probably tomorrow. We really wanted to get through it and see what the next announcement of closure would be, and we have that now. So we'll be meeting about that in the morning, and we should have an announcement probably by midday, and we'll send that out to all of you.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, and before I believe Mr. Williams maybe want to be recognized again, I would also like to thank Mrs. Murchison for her legal expertise and her advice to our school system and for all the information that she's been sending us as well.
Thank you, Carolyn. Great job.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. I'd like to thank everyone that's on this Zoom call and video. I believe we made history here tonight. As I've had a lot of people tell me, things may change a lot in the future for our country and for the world. And whether you like it or not, this may become more of a fixture than it might become the norm more so than not. So just be prepared. But I do like it for that met tonight. But I would like to again thank everybody on this call. And for the official record, before I recognize Mr. Williams, I'd like to say happy birthday to Mrs. Jessie Taylor.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Ms. Taylor.
Thank
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure tonight to congratulate our newest assistant principal at Whittington Middle School, Miss Wendy Pyro. She has been with the district for a number of years. She was a teacher at Woodington Middle School for many years, did a great job there. She went to Wayne County Public Schools. She was a curriculum specialist there on their teaching and learning coaches team. Then she came back to Lenoir County. She went into the NELA program with NC State, the Principal Preparation Program, and earned her Master's of School Administration degree. She has served with distinction. She's worked at Banks Elementary School during her internship, and she's also worked for the last couple of years at Southeast Elementary School and has been a big part of their steps forward there, working hand in hand with the administrative team there and helping to move Southeast forward. So Ms. Pyro's done a great job. She's actually working on her educational specialist degree and doctorate now. So we're proud of her continuing academically too, but she served with service and distinction, and she's our newest assistant principal. She'll be serving Mr. Philippi and the team at Woodington Middle School, the staff there, and she's got big shoes to fill. She's replacing Jan Tucker, who became principal of Banks Elementary School officially at our February meeting. So we congratulate Ms. Pyro. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We're kind of in a little different setting here. Is there anyone that would like to say anything before we adjourn?
I would like to thank the board for their flexibility in using this format to carry out our work in service to the district and our school system family. I think it's gone very well. You guys have done great in this, your first Zoom meeting. Ms. Herring and Mr. Harvey and I are literally in 5 or 6 of these a day now. And so it's old hat for us, but you couldn't tell the difference. You guys made it look easy, so I commend you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'd like to thank all of y'all for what you're doing. And I know for a fact the hours that some of y'all are keeping, and it's, I'm sure, very stressful, but please know that I appreciate it and that we appreciate it and Lenoir County appreciates it. And now we will accept or entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
happy birthday, Jesse.
Thank you.
And lunch on me tomorrow. Mr. Williams got it.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I thought there was going to be a closing song. Is there not a birthday thing here?
No, I don't think so.
I think one of us used to be a music teacher, right?
I don't. Mr. Chairman, do I have the floor?
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
All right, thank you. I congratulate you on the efficiency of this meeting. I think we've also set a record for its time.
Okay.
And to all of you, be safe, take care. Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, and I agree, Mr. Anderson. We do have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bogan. If everyone please, we have a motion to adjourn. Everyone please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Be careful, be safe. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.